Assessment of NASA's SLS program viability by 2024. Introduction. NASA's Space Launch System SLS program, conceptualized as a cornerstone of the Artemis missions and a pathway for U.S. human exploration beyond low Earth orbit, is at a critical juncture. As the program approaches potential contract cancellations with Boeing by 2024, the viability of SLS is under intense scrutiny, particularly regarding its staggering costs, over $2 billion per launch, and persistent delays. With its inaugural flight occurring 6 years later than planned, initially set for 2016 and finally launched in 2022, stakeholders including NASA and the White House are re-evaluating the program's future amid rising competition from commercial space entities like SpaceX and Blue Origin. Key milestones and financial breakdown. 1. Program development timeline. 2011, Congress directed NASA to develop the SLS. 2016, initial launch date targeted. Later missed due to delays. 2022, SLS launched after 6 years of setbacks. 2025, NASA and Boeing face potential contract terminations, layoffs expected. 2. Budget allocation. The SLS program consumes approximately $3 billion annually, with costs per launch exceeding $2 billion. This financial structure raises alarms about the sustainability and efficiency of the program, prompting discussions around potential shifts to commercial alternatives. 3. Economic impact on workforce. Boeing has warned around 800 employees about potential layoffs, with up to 400 positions on the line if NASA cancels the SLS contracts. This action stems from the requirements of the Worker Adjustment and Retraining Notification WARN Act, which mandates advance notice of mass layoffs. Ongoing debate within NASA. Amidst this backdrop, a contentious debate is unfolding within NASA regarding the future of the SLS. Acting NASA Administrator Janet Petro advocates for the completion of Artemis 2 and 3 missions using the SLS, asserting the need to honor existing commitments. Conversely, there is mounting pressure to pivot towards commercial launch options, which could yield substantial cost savings and improved efficiency. Commercial alternatives to SLS. As commercial space companies such as SpaceX and Blue Origin emerge as viable competitors, their services promise lower costs and reusability, critical factors in a budget-conscious environment. For instance, SpaceX's Falcon Heavy has demonstrated successful operational launches at a fraction of SLS's costs. Blue Origin's New Glenn has also shown potential, positioning itself as a serious contender for NASA contracts. This shift towards commercial providers signifies a potential redefinition of NASA's operational strategies and underscores a broader industry trend favoring privatization. Political ramifications. The potential cancellation of SLS contracts could have significant political implications. Congressional leaders, particularly those representing states with robust aerospace sectors like Alabama, are likely to resist abrupt terminations due to the economic fallout. The political landscape complicates NASA's decision-making process, as it must balance budget constraints against the need for regional job stability. Public and expert reactions. The public and expert communities are divided over the SLS's future. Many experts and analysts advocate for cancellation, citing the program's unsustainable costs and delays. However, there are concerns about job security for Boeing employees and the implications for local economies reliant on aerospace employment. NASA's Inspector General has expressed skepticism about the SLS's future, raising doubts about the agency's ability to achieve cost reductions and meet project timelines. The ongoing debate reflects not just financial considerations but also broader questions about NASA's role in space exploration and its partnerships with commercial entities. Conclusion. The viability of NASA's SLS program is at a turning point. Influenced by financial realities, workforce implications, and political pressures. With the looming potential for contract cancellations with Boeing, NASA faces a critical decision that could reshape its approach to space exploration. As discussions continue about transitioning to commercial alternatives, the implications of these choices will be felt across the aerospace industry and beyond, potentially redefining America's future in space exploration. The coming months will be pivotal as stakeholders weigh the benefits of maintaining SLS against the potential advantages of embracing a new era of commercial space transport. The assessment of NASA's Space Launch System (SLS) program reveals several counterintuitive insights regarding its viability and ongoing challenges as it approaches a pivotal moment in 2024. 1. Public perception versus institutional commitment. While public sentiment increasingly leans towards the adoption of commercial alternatives like SpaceX and Blue Origin due to their significantly lower costs, NASA's institutional commitment to the SLS reveals a paradox. Acting NASA Administrator Janet Petro's push to complete Artemis missions using SLS contrasts sharply with the growing acknowledgement of the program's inefficiencies. This highlights a tension between the bureaucratic inertia of established programs and the rapidly evolving commercial space sector where innovation and cost-effectiveness thrive. 2. Job losses versus industry growth. The impending layoffs of approximately 400 Boeing employees due to potential SLS contract cancellations underscore a troubling paradox. While individuals may face job insecurity, the overall aerospace industry may benefit from a strategic pivot towards commercial launch providers. The potential for increased innovation and reduced costs within the commercial sector could ultimately lead to a net positive for the industry as a whole, even if it initially comes at the expense of traditional aerospace jobs. This raises questions about the long-term sustainability of workforce structures tied to outdated models. 3. Political backlash versus economic rationality. The political ramifications of potentially canceling SLS contracts present a counterintuitive scenario where economic rationality clashes with political pressures. Congressional leaders, particularly from states with a vested interest in SLS, may resist cuts despite the financial inefficiency of the program. This creates a situation where political motivations could hinder the adoption of more economically viable solutions, illustrating how political considerations can sometimes lead to decisions that are contrary to fiscal prudence. For the technology readiness versus cost overruns, the SLS program, which was initially heralded as a leap forward in space exploration technology, has become emblematic of government contracting challenges marked by cost overruns and delays. Critics argue that the SLS's reliance on legacy technology, much of which is derived from the Space Shuttle program, inhibits its competitiveness against more modern reusable systems developed by private companies. This raises an unexpected dilemma. The very technology that was intended to ensure reliability and capability has instead become a hindrance to timely and efficient space exploration. 5. Mission continuity versus innovation stagnation. The debate surrounding the SLS and its role in the Artemis missions encapsulates a broader issue within NASA: how to balance mission continuity with the need for innovation. While there is a strong argument for completing Artemis 2 and 3 with existing SLS infrastructure, there is also a recognition that clinging to SLS could stifle the adoption of new, innovative technologies that could enhance future missions. This juxtaposition offers a counterintuitive view that stability in mission planning may come at the cost of future advancements. 6. Cost-benefit analysis versus perceived value. The SLS program's exorbitant costs, over $2 billion per launch, are often discussed in terms of budgetary concerns, yet there is a counterintuitive aspect regarding perceived value. Proponents of SLS argue that the program supports national pride and technological leadership in space exploration. However, this perceived value must be balanced against its financial sustainability, leading to a complex evaluation of what constitutes worth in government-led space initiatives. 7. Long-term vision versus short-term pressure. NASA's approach to the SLS may reflect a long-term vision for deep space exploration, yet the immediate pressures, both financial and political, could derail that vision. The impending decisions regarding the SLS contracts encapsulate this dilemma, suggesting that long-term goals may be sacrificed for short-term fiscal constraints and political maneuvering. This highlights an inherent conflict between visionary aspirations and the practical realities of budget management and stakeholder interests. 8. Technological leadership versus competitive landscape. The SLS program was initially envisioned to position NASA as a leader in heavy lift capabilities. However, the rapid advancements in the commercial sector challenged this narrative, presenting a counterintuitive situation where the very program designed to ensure U.S. leadership in space could instead render NASA less competitive. As private companies develop more efficient systems, the SLS may inadvertently shift the landscape of space exploration from government-led initiatives to commercial dominance, fundamentally altering the role of NASA. These counterintuitive insights illustrate the complexities surrounding the SLS program, revealing how financial, political, and technological considerations intertwine to shape the future of U.S. space exploration. The unfolding narrative presents a critical juncture for NASA, challenging its traditional paradigms and highlighting the need for adaptive strategies in an increasingly competitive landscape. In the ongoing discourse surrounding NASA's Space Launch System (SLS) program, several crucial aspects often escape public attention, yet they hold significant implications for the future of space exploration and the aerospace industry. Here are key contents and their significance. 1. The impending layoffs at Boeing. Boeing's notification of potential layoffs affecting approximately 400 employees due to the SLS contract's precarious status is a stark reality that transcends mere workforce numbers. While many may focus on the contractual uncertainties and budgetary debates, the human element of job security is often overlooked. The anxiety felt by those employees represents the broader socioeconomic repercussions of NASA's decisions, particularly in aerospace hubs like Huntsville, Alabama. This community's reliance on Boeing for employment means that contract cancellations could lead to not just individual hardships but also broader economic destabilization in regions dependent on aerospace jobs. Understanding this context can lead to a more empathetic view of the ongoing debates about budget allocations and program viability. 2. Political ramifications of SLS cancellation. The potential cancellation of the SLS contracts is not merely a technical or financial matter, it is deeply intertwined with political dynamics. Congressional leaders from states with significant aerospace sectors may oppose abrupt terminations of the SLS program due to its economic impacts. This complicates NASA's decision-making process, as political pressures can skew priorities away from purely operational considerations. The resistance from politicians underscores the importance of maintaining a balance between fiscal responsibility and job preservation, a nuance that might be overlooked in broader discussions. The implications of this political landscape suggest that any decision will have lasting repercussions on how space exploration is funded and executed in the future. 3. The debate over NASA's commitment to SLS versus commercial alternatives. The ongoing internal debate within NASA about whether to continue with the SLS or pivot to commercial alternatives like SpaceX and Blue Origin is often framed around budgetary efficiency. Yet the significance of this debate extends beyond financial considerations. It involves the philosophical shift in NASA's role in space exploration. If NASA transitions to relying on commercial providers, it marks a paradigm shift from a government-led initiative to a more collaborative approach with the private sector. This change could redefine the nature of space missions, potentially fostering innovation and competition in ways that a traditional contractor model like Boeing's does not. This discussion can often be overshadowed by immediate fiscal concerns but represents a foundational shift in the future of U.S. space policy. 4. NASA's Inspector General's skepticism. The skepticism expressed by NASA's Inspector General about SLS's future viability and cost management strategies is a critical point that may not receive adequate attention. The Inspector General's reports emphasize historical precedents of budget overruns and missed deadlines, casting doubt on the SLS's cost structures. This skepticism calls into question not only the current program but also NASA's ability to manage large-scale contracts effectively. Ignoring these insights could lead to a repetition of past mistakes. with taxpayers potentially footing the bill for inefficiencies that could have been avoided with a more critical evaluation of the program's trajectory. 5. Commercial space sector's competitive landscape. The rise of private space companies like SpaceX and Blue Origin presents a significant shift in the competitive landscape for space launches. While discussions often focus on the SLS's costs, the emergence of these commercial alternatives highlights a broader trend toward privatization in aerospace. SpaceX's reusable Falcon Heavy and Blue Origin's New Glenn demonstrate that the capabilities of commercial entities have advanced to a point where they can offer not only cheaper alternatives but also innovative solutions that challenge traditional government contracts. This shift is critical for understanding the future of space exploration, as it suggests a move toward a model where NASA may act more as a facilitator of commercial space activities rather than the primary operator. A nuance often overshadowed by discussions of immediate contract cancellations. 6. The long-term impact on NASA's Artemis program. The implications of the SLS's potential cancellation for NASA's Artemis program are profound yet frequently underappreciated. The Artemis missions aim to return humans to the Moon and establish a sustainable presence there, but the reliance on SLS complicates the timeline and feasibility of these objectives. If NASA transitions to commercial alternatives, the Artemis program could experience a significant shift in strategy, potentially accelerating timelines and reducing costs. Yet this transition carries challenges, including the need for robust collaboration with commercial partners and the risk of delays during the transition. Recognizing these long-term impacts is crucial for stakeholders invested in the future of U.S. space exploration, as they could redefine not only NASA's missions but also America's position in the global space race. Conclusion. The viability of NASA's SLS program is entwined with a myriad of factors that extend beyond immediate financial implications. The human element of job security, political ramifications, the evolving role of NASA, skepticism from oversight bodies, the competitive landscape of the commercial sector, and the long-term implications for the Artemis program all play crucial roles in shaping the future of U.S. space exploration. By delving into these often overlooked areas, stakeholders and the public can gain a more comprehensive understanding of the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead in the quest for sustainable and innovative space exploration solutions. 1. Contractual uncertainty and workforce impact. The looming possibility of NASA canceling its contracts with Boeing for the Space Launch System (SLS) is not just a financial concern but also one that threatens job security for around 400 employees in the aerospace sector. Boeing's notification to its workforce highlights the potential for significant layoffs, which could reverberate through communities heavily reliant on aerospace employment, particularly in Huntsville, Alabama. This situation emphasizes the socioeconomic ramifications tied to government contracts and raises critical questions about the future of local jobs in response to shifts in national space policy. 2. Ongoing debate within NASA. The internal discourse at NASA reflects a complex tension between fulfilling existing commitments to the Artemis missions and addressing the financial inefficiencies associated with the SLS program. Acting NASA Administrator Janet Petro's advocacy for the SLS to complete the Artemis 2 and 3 missions contrasts with growing pressure from policymakers and critics to pivot towards more cost-effective commercial launch options. This debate underscores the agency's struggle to balance project continuity with fiscal responsibility amidst rising costs, exceeding $2 billion per launch, and chronic delays. 3. Commercial alternatives. The emergence of private space companies like SpaceX and Blue Origin has significantly altered the landscape of space exploration. SpaceX's Falcon Heavy and Blue Origin's New Glenn offer lower cost, reusable alternatives that present a stark contrast to the SLS's financial model. As NASA re-evaluates its strategy, the potential shift towards these commercial solutions could not only enhance operational efficiency but also redefine the agency's role from a direct operator of space missions to a facilitator of commercial partnerships. This transition may stimulate innovation and competition in the aerospace sector while driving down costs for future missions. 4. Political ramifications. The potential cancellation of the SLS contracts carries significant political implications, particularly for congressional leaders from states with a strong aerospace presence. The economic impact of job losses and the potential disruption to local economies may result in strong opposition to any abrupt termination of the SLS program. This political landscape complicates NASA's decision-making process as it navigates budget constraints against the need to maintain workforce stability and regional economic interests. The interplay between fiscal responsibility and political pressures will play a critical role in shaping the future of NASA's space exploration strategy. 1. The Space Shuttle Program 1981 to 2011. The Space Shuttle was a major NASA initiative that faced significant scrutiny for its high costs and operational inefficiencies. Originally designed for frequent flights, the program became notorious for delays, technical challenges, and budget overruns. Each launch cost approximately $450 million. And the overall program expenditure reached about $196 billion over its 30-year lifespan. The shuttle program was initially intended to be a reusable spacecraft that would lower the cost of access to space, but the reality was far different, leading to discussions about its viability and prompting a transition to commercial spaceflight solutions. 2. The Constellation Program 2005 to 2010. This program aimed to develop new spacecraft and rockets to replace the Space Shuttle and return humans to the Moon by 2020. However, Constellation was plagued by budget overruns, technical delays, and shifting political priorities, which ultimately led to its cancellation in 2010. The program's struggles echoed many of the challenges faced by the SLS, including high costs and a lack of timely progress. The cancellation prompted a shift in NASA's approach, paving the way for more partnerships with commercial space companies. 3. The Ares-I rocket development 2006 to 2010. Ares-I was part of the Constellation program, intended to carry astronauts to the International Space Station and beyond. The project faced numerous technical challenges, high costs, and delays, contributing to skepticism about its feasibility. After significant criticism regarding its design complexities and rising expenses, Ares-I was ultimately cancelled. This scenario is akin to the current challenges with the SLS program, highlighting the ongoing tension between government-funded space initiatives and the emergence of more cost-effective commercial alternatives. The future of NASA's Space Launch System (SLS) program by 2024 appears precarious, marked by critical milestones, fiscal constraints, and evolving industry dynamics. With an annual budget of approximately $3 billion and launch costs exceeding $2 billion, the SLS's viability is increasingly questioned, especially in light of potential contract terminations with Boeing. This situation has spurred discussions about the program's sustainability and the need for a strategic pivot towards more cost-effective commercial alternatives. Key predictions for the future of the SLS program. 1. Contractual changes and workforce impacts. By March 2025, NASA's decision on the SLS contracts will likely lead to significant layoffs at Boeing, affecting around 400 employees. The aerospace community, particularly in Huntsville, Alabama, will face economic uncertainty as local job markets are intertwined with SLS contracts. This could lead to increased pushback from local political leaders advocating for job preservation. 2. Transition to commercial launch options. As NASA evaluates its future missions, a marked shift towards commercial launch vehicles is anticipated. SpaceX's Falcon Heavy and Blue Origin's New Glenn are expected to gain traction as potential partners for upcoming Artemis missions. This could signal a broader industry shift where NASA becomes a facilitator of commercial capabilities rather than the primary contractor for rocket launches. The increased competition from these private companies could lead to substantial cost savings and more frequent launch capabilities. 3. Political ramifications. The potential cancellation of SLS contracts will spark significant political debates in Congress. Lawmakers from states with strong aerospace sectors will likely lobby against the cancellation, citing job security and economic impacts. The political landscape will be crucial in shaping NASA's budget proposals and operational strategies, particularly as fiscal pressures mount. 4. Cost-benefit reevaluation, with scrutiny from both NASA's Inspector General and industry analysts. A deeper evaluation of cost-benefit analyses will drive discussions about the SLS program's future. The juxtaposition of SLS's exorbitant costs with the lower operational costs of commercial alternatives will contribute to this reevaluation, potentially leading to a reallocation of funding towards more sustainable projects. 5. A future of the Artemis program. The Artemis missions, particularly Artemis 2 and 3, are expected to proceed using the SLS framework, as emphasized by acting NASA Administrator Janet Petro. However, future missions may see a transition to commercial platforms, which could redefine the timeline and objectives of the Artemis program. This evolution may ultimately lead to a more robust and flexible space exploration agenda as NASA integrates commercial partnerships. 6. Technological innovation and industry growth. The ongoing discussions surrounding the SLS program will likely catalyze innovations in the commercial space sector. Companies like SpaceX and Blue Origin are expected to ramp up their capabilities and offerings to capture NASA contracts, fostering a competitive landscape that drives technological advancements within the industry. 7. Public sentiment and support. As the public becomes increasingly aware of the financial strains and potential layoffs associated with the SLS program, there may be a shift in public sentiment. Advocacy for maintaining the United States leadership in space exploration will coexist with calls for fiscal responsibility, leading to a complex debate on the direction of NASA's space exploration strategy. 8. Long-term implications for workforce development. The potential layoffs at Boeing will impact not only the affected employees but also the future attractiveness of aerospace careers in regions dependent on the SLS program. The shift towards commercial space solutions may require a workforce skilled in new technologies, emphasizing the need for educational initiatives and training programs to prepare the next generation for opportunities in a rapidly evolving industry. Conclusion. The trajectory of NASA's SLS program is at a critical juncture, facing potential cancellations that could reshape the landscape of American space exploration. As stakeholders weigh the high costs, workforce implications, and the rise of commercial alternatives, the decisions made by NASA and the White House in the coming months will be pivotal. The shift towards commercial launch options could not only ensure more cost-effective missions but also foster a new era of collaboration and innovation within the aerospace sector. Ultimately, the outcomes of these discussions will have lasting implications on the future of NASA, its missions, and the broader space industry in the United States.